Well, the internet has lots of shows. This is one of them. It's a little thing that we like to call the creative cranium. Some draw the page and some color, and there are some who write the words. And everyone is welcome here, especially the nerds. It's the creative cranium. The internet has lots of shows, and this is one of them. It's the creative cranium. So if you want to learn and grow, come on the show. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to a special episode of the Creative Cranium. You know, for a couple of weeks now, we've been talking about having musicians and songwriters on the show. And tonight, I am honored to have my friend, Mr. Justin Klauser. Welcome, Justin.
Hello, nice to meet you. I mean, not meet you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, man, I tell you, it's a pleasure to have you here. And for the viewers that don't know, you and I have been working on a song together for, well, a little over a month now. We're pretty excited about it. As a matter of fact, if you've tuned into this broadcast on YouTube, that is the introductory theme music that you would have heard up till just now. Justin, let's start out right at the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about what you are mostly known for?
Okay, mostly music. I am a guitar and bass focused multi-instrumentalist, composer, performer, producer, teacher, and owner of the Music and Arts Education Center, The Perfect Fifth. So it just depends on where you know me from, if I'm a performer or if I'm a teacher. Probably teaching would be my biggest thing, though. The Perfect Fifth is a Music and Arts Education Center. We have around 30 different private instructors of just about any instrument you can think of.
I was astonished to find out that this is a huge operation. You guys offer all kinds of musical education.
Yeah, and arts. We have acting, visual arts as well.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Huh.
We're mostly known for music, though. We started off as musicians running it. We're still musicians running it, so it's music focused.
How long have you guys been doing The Perfect Fifth?
Well, let's see here. I wasn't the original owner, actually. So I've been doing it. I think I just got a thing on social media reminding me of something I did 8 years ago as the owner. So probably a little over 8 years. But the Perfect Fifth has probably been around for 12 or 13, I believe. I'm not sure exactly.
Nice.
The original owner, when they left, we ended up purchasing the intellectual rights from them. And we said, hey, we want this to continue going. So
nice. Well, my hat's off to you, and thanks for doing that. I say that in the sense that, you know, it's so difficult, I believe, for the younger generation to be able to follow a path in music or songwriting. You know, it's just different for young people now. You get everything from YouTube, and it's all about the streaming. There's no real rock stars other than Taylor Swift. You know, it's a different environment, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, part of being in the music industry is adapting. So,
well,
I actually have a degree in music industry, but it's a little outdated by the time you graduate because the music industry changes very quickly.
Well, that's interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the craft directly. So one of the things that you're most known for, and there's many things, but is you're an amazing guitar player, right?
Oh, thank you.
So one of the questions I'd want to ask you is what kind of influences affected you when you were first starting to play? Or was there a moment when you said, I want to do that?
Oh, I don't know if there was a moment. There probably was. It probably was instant. I right away, I knew that once I started to play music, that moved me. especially when I became a teenager and found guitar. So when I first started off, I was a viola player, and I played in my string orchestra at school. That was at Mechanicsburg High School.
Oh.
And
Shout out Mechanicsburg High.
yeah, Mechanicsburg, yeah. And I guess I just fell in love with music and wanted to do it in my own way. Sold my viola, got a guitar.
And now, how old were you when you got your first guitar?
I would have been 14.
Oh, okay.
So I guess I wasn't playing viola for the high school. I was probably at junior high, yeah, when I think back to it.
But at least when you grabbed the guitar, you would have known a couple of notes and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, no, I was definitely well versed in music at that point. I played first chair for the school. And
oh, okay, gotcha.
yeah, so I was pretty serious about music, but I wanted to do it my own way.
No kidding.
So,
and do you remember what kind of guitar was it that you got when you were 14?
It was a JB player.
Nice. Well, everyone says they're the best. That's what.
Yeah, and I went straight out to the garage and made a terrible band right away. I didn't wait for anything.
Nice.
So
what was your
reading
first
music?
This is a little off topic, but what was your first band called?
Oh, first one, I wouldn't even know what my first one was, because it just would have been me and whatever the kids that lived near me were. So I don't even remember what we would have called it.
Gotcha.
They're terrible. It's not worth remembering, really, other than for the good times. We were playing and recording on cassette decks and making terrible songs and having a blast.
There's a great quote by Dave Grohl. He's the guy from the Foo Fighters. You know who Dave Grohl is, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think he's a cool guy, and he has a neat quote, and the quote says, I'm going to mess it up a little bit now.
I'll paraphrase.
Yeah, the gist of it is, he says, look, that's what you have to do when you're becoming a musician. Form your garage band and go out there and just suck for a while. Just keep doing it. He said that's what teaches you to become great. He said this business of going on like an X Factor or America's Next Vocalist, he said all that stuff's bullshit. He says go into a garage, get a couple of your buddies, and do a terrible job on cover songs, and learn it inside and out. He's kind of right.
Well, it certainly rang true for me. I'm not the type of person that's going to tell you my story and say that's everyone's story. So I think that you're going to get a lot of different, really, as long as you're finding the love for music and you find your way there. I mean, I remember
I agree. And
falling in love with music. That's what mattered.
This is going to tie into our next question. Okay. And Justin, let me tell you, I have enjoyed this process with you of writing this first song together immensely. And right away, I was blown away by your level of talent. And one of the things that we talk about on this podcast is the reasons why people do something. And when you and I met, it clicked almost right away, right? We were both musical fellas and both very creative.
Right.
But my question for you would be this one. Why music? I mean, you're a smart guy. You could be doing a lot of things, What is it about music that you go, hey, this is it. This is what I want to do with my life?
Well, it's interesting that it's a lot of people say, why did you choose music? Is a common question that I'll hear. And I don't think that I chose music. I think it was inevitable. So I didn't really have a choice. I'm just along for the ride. Within the laws of our universe, energy and matter are going to do what they do. Right. There's, not to get into a real deep, free will and all that, but
hey man, I love that kind of stuff.
But it certainly feels like I had no choice but this in many ways. I've been on a bus with someone going to a gig and we're just talking, why did we choose this? I'm like, choose this? No way. This is the only way we could go. I knew from an early age that I wanted to dedicate my life to what made me happy and what makes a better world. That's important to me. And it didn't take me long to fall in love with music and realize that was going to be my path.
Right.
So I guess it was just what made me choose it was that. I felt it makes the world better. And if I could make other people feel as good as I felt when I heard music and when I played music, then I felt I was doing my part in making a better world. So that is ultimately why I do it and why why my priorities are still the same. Throughout my life, I've had many interests, but music has always been my North Star.
And listen, I buy that too. And I am one of those personality types where when I say that music's important to me, and I'm primarily a writer these days, but as you know, I was a musician for well, from 82 all the way up to 99, something like that. So I was actually a musician longer than I was a writer. Now, I never had any great success stories or anything like some of the people tell. And I'm obviously not the mark of a professional is to know your limitations. So I'm not the most seasoned musician, more than some these days. But one of the things that I learned is when you run into another person that is I consider you a very seasoned musician. Like I'll go off topic just a hair. Like we're talking tonight about the theme song that we wrote together. But the other night we got together, and this is, for an upcoming project. And you had really never even heard this project before and quickly got the perfect timing, the perfect keys. And we even transposed some of the keys. And I've been playing this for a couple of my brother and some of the guys I do the previews with. And they're like, holy mackerel, where'd you find this guy? And that's why I said, hey, man, this is this Justin Klauser guy I've been telling you about. So you have a little bit of a knack for songwriting. Is it fair to say that?
I think so. Everyone has what they're drawn to, and you'll get good at what you do. Whether you beat your head against the wall and find a way, or if you find a smarter way to learn, you'll learn eventually. And what I like to do is create. So there's a lot of people that say, oh, you don't know this song, you don't know that song. I go, no, but I've worked on making enough songs, and I know the fundamentals of music that I've been able to get by learning things on the spot or last minute for everything I need to perform.
Right. And
other
for
people's
instance,
music.
You were able to do some pretty cool things too. Like we mentioned, you're a solid guitar player, but you came up with the idea to do these vocal harmonies, and we did that right on the fly. It had never been practiced or anything like that. And you said, hey, do you remember this? You said, hey, what if it made this triad? And you took each note and you sort of wove it together out of pieces. And for the viewers, we did it as a little bit of a gag because I don't consider myself a singer at all. And Justin said, well, wait a minute, can you do this? And I said, well, I can do that. And he said, can you do this? And I said, well, I can do that. And anyway, you put the three parts together and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's just simple tertiary harmony there.
So you say that, but most people won't know what that is, including me. And I know what tertiary means, but now How did you get the idea to do that? Like, were you framing it after something else?
No, just, perhaps subconsciously, but consciously, I'm just thinking this is what I hear. So I hear a range, I hear a tonality, and it's following a key too. If you know basic music theory, you're going to have a key, 7 notes, right?
Right.
And the tertiary harmony system, meaning in thirds, right, is going to harmonize. It's no different than complementary colors, right? If you try to put red and pink and orange all together, they're so close to each other they clash.
Right.
And well, there's not really that big of a difference between the way you harmonize. Say you have 5 notes in a row, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up your scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, right? Well, if you take out the second, now you've got a third harmony.
And now what we're hearing, I'll play a quick loop of that for the audience. And what we are hearing, this is the first, the fifth, and the seventh are the harmonies?
Oh, the first, the third, and the fifth, right?
So the first, the third, and the fifth. Okay.
Right. And another way, Barry Harris is a jazz theorist. It's famous for just saying it's skipping a note. All harmony is skipping a note. If you put two things next to each other, they clash, right? As color would, right? So.
And what's our, so music theory wise, so what was our key? It's G, right? So the harmony is G, the third is G, A, B, G, B, and D.
And D, yeah.
G, B, and D. So the frames out a basic chord.
Right, and if you change the chords, now it's going to change to the notes starting on that note as the root. So when we change the C, right, now all of a sudden it's C, E, G. And when you get to the D,
nice,
sharp A.
Nice job on the execution of that, and nice job on really coming up with it on the fly. Because if I remember, the only idea I had was, hey, how about something like a 50s doo-wop?
Right. Yeah.
Like, and that was really as far as, and of course, when I did it, it was changing key each time. And you said, hey, wait. You know what I mean? What if we grouped the three together into like a little, you can almost hear, the guys standing in front of the, burning barrel while they're singing out on the street, right?
Yeah. And what I like is you still had the one that was floating. So we kept the original one where you moved around, and then you create this base for everything to sit in. Some people will call it like a pad that you'll have. It's a vocal pad.
A pad, okay.
And then your vocal melody gets to move around on it, and you're supporting your own. So it's harmony and melody. So it actually ended up being 4 parts there that you did for your backup there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a terrific suggestion, Justin, and I appreciate, man, the songwriting tips. And for those of you who are just tuning in, it is the Creative Cranium. We're having a special songwriting night with my musical pal, Justin Klauser. I did want to ask you this too, Justin. You've done a bunch of projects, right? You've got teaching projects, you've got music projects. What project are you the most proud of?
Ooh, well, it's like saying which of your children do you like the most, right? Well, there's days that you can answer that one, but love,
right? Yeah,
love, that's not one that people can answer. I think I'm probably most proud of my solo music because it's the most intimately me. Each choice is my own. It's my priorities, my visions, my playing, and it demonstrates my work on a variety of instruments and styles, as well as my own production. So I love having control over the entire process. If I want to play a chord progression or melody, I do. If I want to turn it into a music video, I do. There's no waiting for other members to agree on a decision. That said, I'm also very proud of my collaborative work. I did an album with the band That Girl. Well, not with the band. I was the guitarist and still am. We just haven't done much lately, and that's spelled THTGRL. Stands for Tell Her That Greatness Requires Love.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's all acoustic music. Well, no, it's not even all acoustic. I do a little bit of clean tone electric guitar on there. It's very emotionally powerful music. I think it's simple but powerful, and I love the songs on there. I didn't compose the songs, although I had some handed, minor ideas here and there, and I didn't sing them. I didn't do any of the vocals, but I did all the instruments on the album, and I handled all the production myself. And I always wanted to do that. I remember there's an album I loved when I was younger by the band Epiphany Project, and I remember it had a vocalist. She did all the vocals, and there was an instrumentalist, and he did all the instruments. And I was like, I really want to do that one day. I want to find someone who has a beautiful voice, and I want to handle every instrument. So I got to do that. But getting back to probably the most proud of would be my solo stuff. I've put out 3 videos recently for my solo playing, and you can find them on my YouTube or my website, or anywhere, my Bandcamp, if you want to throw me a little bit of cash.
Sure, exactly. I'll run the links here underneath our images as we are speaking. Yeah,
so that's what I'm most proud of.
So you mentioned being a pretty strong collaborator, and I noticed that is definitely the case. In my experience, this was a new one for me. You had the idea while we were working on this theme song, because admittedly, I'm not the strongest vocalist, guys. The idea was to just have something that would represent the show, right? Something creative. And Justin said something to the effect of, hey, man, there's this girl that can really sing. Her name's Laura. What was it like to work with Laura, and how did you put that together?
That was really easy. Just contacted her online. She was great to work with. She's a seasoned professional and extremely talented. She's sung for Guns N' Roses. She's sung for Heart. So many big acts. You just go look at her bio, and it's unbelievable the people she's worked with. She's been on television, the Terry Bradshaw show or something. Just incredible amount of credits. She was also a semifinalist, I believe, on was it America's Got Talent or something. I don't watch any of those shows. As I kind of feel a little bit similar to Dave Grohl. It doesn't really interest me that much. But she was 16 and was doing that, and then went and got a music degree. And I believe now she's doing a residency in Las Vegas. So she very, very busy. Yeah. So she's got her own thing, and that's incredible. If you see some of the stuff she's doing with that, she's got an intense voice. So I contacted her and to see if she'd want to do this song. And same day I contacted her, she recorded the vocals and sent them back to me. She's like, I'm free today. Yeah, recorded them real quick, sent me the harmonies.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and she's got such a powerful voice. She can belt with the rest of them, and that's part of what I wanted. I know you had mentioned, you didn't feel confident in your voice, and you wanted a ringer to come in and help you out.
Right. Yeah. And so there's a couple of different versions, and what we're hearing here primarily is a version with both of our vocals blended together. But I mean, I want to make sure I reiterate, she is a true vocalist to where she just sounds lovely. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and I contacted her because of her ability to just belt out a rock vocal like no one's
Yeah.
business. But being the true professional that she is, she knew that the song needed a lighter, more campy delivery.
Yeah, it's
And
perfect.
so she as a professional knew how to handle a song. And that's what I look for most, above almost anything else with musicians. Can treat a song with the respect and care it needs.
When I knew it was successful was when I started getting reviews from people, and one of them was my wife, who does not have very much musical knowledge or anything, and she said something like, "Hey, it reminds me of the theme song from Friends," which that was the best compliment, because the assignment was to it's designed to sound like a TV show theme song.
Yes.
It's the theme song for our podcast, and we've got a couple of different ones, and maybe we might even have one more coming your way if you guys stay tuned. But while we're on the subject of collaborating, so also tell us a little bit about Jeremy, the drummer.
Oh yeah, so and then after that we had an original version with just MIDI drums. I played the instruments, but I don't have the ability to record drums the way I want to, even though it's a hobby instrument for me to play. I just had the original demo MIDI drums.
Right.
And I really wanted, so Jeremy Hummel is an incredible drummer. He was the founding drummer from Breaking Benjamin. So he's on, if you go, he's also one of the teachers here at the Perfect Fifth. So if someone wants to come in and learn drums, he's one of our excellent staff here. And there's been times that I'll be in my room teaching a student, oh, they want to learn a Breaking Benjamin song. Oh, they want to learn So Cold. So we're looking at the video as we're playing it. And then he just walks by the door and goes, hey, there's that guy right there. And it just blows their mind because he's been there, done that all over the world.
And by the way, I love that band too. So the main thing for me is now I got bragging rights. I can say I played on a song with the guy from Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah, me too. To be honest, I've played shows with them, but I never got to be on the same recording. So it was partially that I thought it would help the song, and partially I wanted to just have another thing that I've done with Jeremy because I love working with him. He's another true professional. First time I worked with him, he couldn't make it to one of the rehearsals. He sent one of his very, very talented students to come in and fill in for him at a rehearsal for a gig we were doing together. And then I think it was, he could make it to one rehearsal before the performance because we have busy lives, and shows up completely prepared and is telling the bassist, oh, no, here's what the notes you hit here. I just remember going, okay, this is the type of person I like to work with. He knows what his part is inside out, and even knows, oh, the reason why you're having trouble there is because there's this section of the song.
Yeah. It's one thing, working with talented musicians, or maybe I should say seasoned musicians. My brother used to use the metaphor, it's okay if you all fall down the stairs, but you all have to land on the bottom step at the same time.
Yeah.
And if you're working with, a pro group, somebody like Jeremy, I mean, he can make it sound perfect every time.
Absolutely.
And by the way, if he's watching this, thank you, Jeremy, for agreeing to play on our team.
And Laura. I mean,
and Laura too. Yeah, really, it was such a pleasure and really an honor for me. This is all, many times I do projects and they tend to exceed my expectations, and this was one too. And in this case, the main thing about it was that I enjoyed the time that we spent together very much.
Oh, absolutely, that was a blast. Just
let's talk about that a little bit, right? Because so if you guys don't know, Justin and I know each other, but we hadn't ever worked on a project or anything, but we know each other a little bit from the convention circuit. So I guess I'll let you answer this question. How did we hook up the first time? How did this happen?
Well, as you mentioned, we were at Baltimore Comic-Con. I was there with my girlfriend, Cora. We go there pretty much every year for the last few years, whenever we can.
Hi, Cora.
And the first time we met you, we were walking around, and there is such a overload of stimuli when you're at a convention. Everyone has something that they're there to show you, and you walk 3 paces and there's someone else and they're on either side of you. Right. And it can be really tough to stand out, actually. And it's not even saying that anything to do with the quality of the work that you do, but just the information overload. So sometimes you sort of pace yourself with what you really get invested in. And also sometimes it only takes a split second to go, that's an aesthetic that speaks to me instantly. And there's only a few people that I walked past their stand and that happened for, and you were one of them. And it just happened also that you were the nicest person in the whole convention, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
like
we
just the
kind of
most open
became
and
we
yeah,
became friends almost right away. We were chatting and hitting it off. And but we got to mention Cora's a real sweetheart too. I think she's the greatest. So
yeah.
thanks for bringing Justin.
And obviously I feel the same way about that. It's yeah, it was just sometimes you can just hit it off with a person. We hit it off right away. And you weren't trying to sell me anything. It was, I know you're there because you want to promote what you're doing, but
Yeah.
it didn't feel like it was work. It was just, oh, this speaks to me right away with the art. And then we start talking. I think we were hugging by the first time
Yeah,
we met.
taking
It was
pictures.
just like,
As a matter of
yeah,
fact,
and just
Cora, I remember the second year, or I forget if it was the second year, but remember she won the cosplay contest.
yeah, she took best in show that year.
She's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, she's indeed.
Well, so
indeed.
let's circle back to, so we sort of decide that we want to work on a project together. We know we're both musicians, and as you know, sometimes you can get along really good with somebody, or even have somebody talented working on your project, but it still doesn't always click, right? Like a lot of things can go wrong. So ours actually felt like it came together very quickly. I'll just make a quick couple of notes about the songwriting process, right? I am a basic songwriter. I'm heavy use of what they call the cowboy chords, right? The open string chords. And I had like a little structure put together. I'd been playing it here at the house and practicing it. And the thought was I was going to play it live on the air. But then once I met you, we were like, oh, we could make a really cool, this could be like a real theme song and it'll sound like a TV show theme song. Yeah. So my question would be for you with this, because it did actually go okay. But what do you think the challenges were of working on the project? And I guess mainly during the live session, because like we did a lot of prep work ahead of time. If that was a challenge too, mention it. But my guess it was probably, yeah.
No, the prep work wasn't too tough. Most of the time when I'm working on projects, I like to be learning something. So usually the biggest challenges are things I'm learning along the way. So I was learning to use the program MuseScore, which I was writing everything. Because the way it started for me is you sent me just a little cell phone recording of you strumming on an acoustic guitar, singing the words, and then you sang the basic hook for the instrumental.
Right.
And then so I got down. Didn't really know exactly where it was going yet. I didn't know it was going to be more like a full song. I thought maybe it was like a shorter one, and then you would want just an instrumental loop on the last chord progression. Yeah. So I had that in, and you were impressed by that. And I was like, wow, okay, this is going to be easy to impress you. All I did was type in the notes that you played and basic harmonies. Again, tertiary harmony. I took the instrumental hook, and I know how to make a harmony, and I can do it on the fly.
Well, and it was neat, right? Like when you talk about the writing process, so here's me, and I'm humming and strumming here at the house on a Sunday morning. And then on Monday afternoon, here comes the sheet music and the transposed music of what I hummed and played. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
First of all, the speed of the turnaround. And, second of all, it's very professional. And, I play with a lot of musicians. And I run across a lot of guys who are what I call noodlers, right? They don't quite have the sense of the melody down or this and that. And I knew right away you had two things that you absolutely nailed on the first try. And that was your timing's flawless, because there's one or two little stops and starts in that song. And then the second thing is the sense of key was always right on. Like you didn't miss any of the notes. And I don't consider myself the most demanding person, but I do have enough of a band background and songwriting experience to be that guy like, whoa, that's actually D minor right there. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got the wrong one. Yeah. And I know that you're definitely that way.
Yeah, I'm very detail oriented.
Yeah. So were any of the parts difficult for you? Were there any challenges there?
There were some challenges later on. So one of the challenges was originally we were just going to take a stab at it with you doing the vocals, and we thought it sounded great. I mean, I remember leaving that session going, this sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And we're like, then you said, what if we decided that we'd bring in Laura to add vocals to it and have her take a stab at it. And what happened was, I don't think she was planning on it being, I think she might have thought that your voice was going to be one version and hers was going to be another. And I think there was like one thing where the word you wrote down was different than the word she sang. Or tiny little things. And you would think that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But then I actually had to go in there and grab a couple things. And it was just timing issues, because when two vocalists sing, they're not necessarily going to sing exactly the same time. It's, you know, you want a little bit of flexibility there as a singer. So I was just grabbing, oh, okay, this word was
Right.
just didn't line up. So I just moved them so they fit.
I will say in your mix, Justin, you won't even notice it.
Oh,
if you
no,
wouldn't have
there's
told me,
no way.
yeah.
There's
If
no
you
way
wouldn't
that
have
a
told me, I
person's
wouldn't have
gonna-
noticed it either. Yeah.
No one would know that I grabbed a word and moved it just, well, and we're talking milliseconds too.
Right, right.
Again, I'm kind of a stickler for small details, so I wanted it to sound, even though neither of you knew that you'd be singing together when you recorded your part, I wanted to sound like you were in the room singing together.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
It
the
has
tiny
that
little
feel
things.
of a duet. It has that feel.
Yeah, and the other thing actually that was difficult was mixing the drums. I don't have a lot of experience mixing drums, so I said, all right, I'm going to learn how to mix drums, and I'm going to figure out which ones, you know, putting a gate on some of the low things, compressors, EQ, a drum bus to add in some other things, you know. So I had to learn every detail as I was going there. That wasn't something that I knew, but you know, I pride myself on my adaptability.
Yeah, I thought it came out
I
great.
go.
And by the way, again, thanks to Jeremy for having a professional and driving drummer, and he's even got some cool fills in there and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is something you don't necessarily get with, you know, the drum machine, or in this case, it was MIDI. You said, right?
Right. Yeah, yes. I thought there was one other thing that was a little difficult, and that was just finding time when my ears aren't burnt. So when it comes to producing and mixing, one of the things that you need are fresh ears.
Right.
And being that I play music with students 8 hours a day, I would go, okay, I'm going to work on this before I go into work, but I only have a little bit of time, so I can only get a little bit done before I go into work. Couldn't do it after work because my ears are burnt out then.
Right.
So I could do it just in the mornings.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say thank you, because as the part about working with a teammate to create a goal, it was noticeable that you are a professional and that this is something you do for a living. And what I mean by that, I work with a few musicians myself, and of course, artists and colorists and all these great, terrific, talented, creative people. But sometimes creative people, they have difficulty making deadlines and this kind of thing.
Right.
They're, you know, I'm not ripping on them. It's part of the mentality. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's just something that we learn to deal with. So like when I started getting those scores back from you, I was like, holy mackerel, this guy's on the ball over here.
Yeah, well, it's something that I pride myself on, is my professionalism. So I don't want
Good
to
job,
be
man.
just known, not just for my creativity. I want that. I want you to say, hey, excellent job with what you did, but I also want it to be done on time. When I say I'm going to be there at a certain time, I'm going to be there at that time. When I say something can be done by a certain time, there better be a good reason why it's not for me.
I always say, you know, it's the same thing with our operation over here at Earth Dog Studios. We don't say we are the best one, but we do say we are better than the competition. That's what we are trying to do, is to,
Right.
you know, and, you know, in some cases, you know, there's so much unprofessionalism in the world that even if you're trying a little bit, your work really stands out. So let's talk about the field of music as a little bit different. You know, in your mind, we talk about success. And, you know, success in music isn't always necessarily sales or everybody has a different definition of what success
Absolutely.
is. What is your definition? What does success look like for Justin?
Okay, so because I work in many different ways in music, I sort of need to compartmentalize success into different aspects of my life. So I would say there's the creative side of it, and there's the teaching side of it. And I think both are very important to me. I've talked to people that the teaching fulfills them. I've talked to people that being a creative, you know, performing, producing, whatever it is, fulfills them. And I found that I need both to be fulfilled and to feel successful. So as a creative, my vision of success is both discovery and transcendence. So discovery and exploring and expressing who I am, and transcendence in the path to learning and growing. We're constantly evolving creatures. And if I can find a balance in celebrating who I am while I'm traversing into my next chapter, I consider that a creative success. You know, there's a lot of people that don't like what they do artistically for the very same reason everyone else loves it, because it has a piece of them, and they're trying to escape who they are. They're trying to transcend it. And there's some people that don't really change a whole lot in what they're doing. So I think creatively, I want to succeed in finding and expressing who I am, but balancing that with transcending and moving forward and learning.
I get it. That's a great
Now,
answer.
as a teacher, it's my metric is success is just measured in positive impact on the lives of my students.
Right.
So again, this is going to be, each person is a different story. Each person is unique, and thus my goals are unique to each relationship. So that is just find out what success is with each person as they walk in the door. And from the day I meet them, from that first session that I have, because I'll do a free trial meeting with every student. No one signs up for a lesson until they find out this is what they want to do, and I'm the person that's going to be on that journey with them. I let them know right away that I want to learn what their vision of success is, what they're trying to get out of it.
Nice.
So with that, it's unique to each individual relationship I have. And beyond impact for individuals, I want to continue to grow the sense of community here at the Perfect Fifth. So I would say that's the two ways that I would compartmentalize success for me, because I do feel I have two paths and two parts that make me whole as a musician.
Interesting. Let's share some information about Perfect Fifth below, if anybody would like to get in touch with Justin. I can't recommend these guys strongly enough. This is just been a brilliant experience working on this song, and I consider myself an average songwriter, and you guys, well, I say you guys, Justin did really most of the work. We did have two very other talented people work on it, but you did all the lifting, and it came out amazing. You know, I had a note here about if we wanted to talk about our next project together, which we have been working on a little something.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We can.
For some of the viewers,
I'll let you take the lead on it for what you want to divulge.
Yeah,
right?
Here's where we're going. So it turns out that Justin and I are pals now, and that we write these songs. And one of the ideas for the Cryptid campaign was to have a theme song, which is what we make. And this one was like a 50s sci-fi movie theme song. And what we were going to do was have Justin and I write it, and he's come up with some killer licks for this song. It's really cool. But we were debating if we want either A, produce it ourselves, like we did with Creative Cranium, or B, I also have a couple of contracts through a place called Fiverr, which is a website where you can hire various production folks. In this case, it would be recording and engineering. And I should quick point out, you and I know how to play all the instruments, but in this scenario, we'd provide a rough recording, and they would make a Hollywood level recording, right?
Right.
So I guess or maybe not Hollywood, but a upper scale production. My question to you is, what do you think is the way? What do you think is the way to do this next project? I want to hear what you think.
Well, I think as a friend, I like getting together with you and being creative. So we would start off with that, and we just see what we come up with and see how big of a project we want it to turn into, and decide then who else we would bring into the project to help us with it. We certainly are capable of it, as we did with the theme song for the show.
Yeah. And
it's just determining how much time we have to dedicate to another project. Because there's a little bit, sitting around and just going, all right, where should I EQ out the ring out in this drum? There's just, we know how to do it, but do I want to spend every one of my mornings going, all right.
Man, listen, you're preaching the choir, Justin, and let me tell you why. And first of all, you are very good at it, so I'll give you that.
Thank you.
But we talk about, like, I use the examples that I understand in my field. I'm a little bit of a publisher, as you guys know, and really what I am at the end of the day, I'm a writer. And I've had to learn all these other things about managing Kickstarters and how to create teams and motivate teams. And it's all this other stuff, in charge of shipping and folding up cardboard boxes. Look, at the end of the day, I just want to be a writer. So, I don't necessarily want all the other things burglarizing my time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And when that is something that's great when you can afford to do that, when you found sort of a backbone for being able to do what you do. Because the reality is, anyone that works in the creative field, most of the stuff you're doing at first is preparing to do the thing you want to do. And when you've created enough of a foundation for you to just kind of prioritize your creative time, that's a wonderful feeling. Yeah. It's got to feel what it's like for a director of a movie. A lot of times the director knows how to do many of the jobs on that set, but they want to be more in a, so they want to take an approach where they have a perspective from further back, and they want to trust other people to be able to do some of that work for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's a great time to mention that sometimes handing something off is the smartest move for a project, because in almost every case, the best final effort is a collaborative effort.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You grow so much from that. Oh, and it's funny because I was just saying, what am I most proud of? My solo work. But I couldn't be the person I am to do my solo work if I haven't collaborated with other people. I grow from all those experiences.
Yeah.
And there's no collaborative experience where I've done it and said, oh, this would have been so much better if I was the only one involved. I've never had an experience like that. Maybe that's luck, or maybe that's choosing the right people to collaborate with. Maybe it's both.
You do have pretty polished people skills, and I think that's part of why you get good results on projects. It is a part of life that sometimes creative people, I want to say this in a way that doesn't make me sound like a jerk, but sometimes creative people can be a little bit hard to get along with, right? And you have to sort of massage them to get the job done at the end of the day. And you can tell you're in business for yourself, because you're very much self-motivated self-starter, and the project stayed on track the whole time. So it was really a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah. And I do pride myself. I mean, part of why I want to make art and be a creative is to express myself and communicate with other people.
Yeah.
So that's, if you look at what you want to be able to do is communicating with others, then you might want to polish the ability to build friendships and be a people person.
So I saved one of the best questions almost for last, Justin, which is, I think it's a tough market out there for young folks starting out trying to be a musician or a songwriter or even a creative type. What advice would you give to a younger person who is just starting out in the field of music?
Okay, well, that's my job, is to give this advice. So if I only have one tip, contact the perfect fifth and set up lessons, and you'll get all the rest after that. Right?
Great. That's great.
Because I love you, I'm going to give you 2 general tips for free.
Okay.
All right. One is to follow and develop your passion. I think the passion is the spark for everything a musician and songwriter does, is what drives you to get started. It's what lures you back each and every day. I would say, don't just practice to get better, practice to fall more in love with what you do.
Right.
And that'll be the spark for everything else. If you love it, if you're looking at one measure and you're doing it over and over, and it's a challenge to be able to perform it, don't forget, you're not practicing just to perform it. You're practicing to love it. And that love is what will allow you to perform it. And when you show it that respect, you'll find a way to play that measure. And that's just a microcosm for everything that you do as a creative person, and fall in love with it as much as you can. And the other one is perhaps maybe a little more practical for some people, but it's to learn concepts over procedures. So I think a fundamental understanding of core concepts and beyond allows procedural learning to flourish. I've witnessed countless times where foundational understanding and problem-solving skills have excelled where procedure has failed. I mean, I think we've all seen when someone goes, oh, I've been taught, I know how to do this. And then when the situation is different, they don't have the problem-solving skills, and they don't have the foundational understanding of it on a conceptual level. So when we take one block and take it out, now they don't know how to do it. They're like, what? It's broke. There's a missing piece there. All right. So if you learn concepts, I think, again, that's going to work better than just learning the procedure. And there's great studies that have done that. I think there's a book called Range. It's about conceptual learning and broader learning over top of procedural learning and specialized learning. And it just shows people in fields of athletics and science, mathematics and art, and anything that you can think of, and showing where when they understand it on a conceptual level, it helps them so much. Because what about when the procedure changes?
Right.
Imagine if you were playing chess and all you learned of chess was how to do the opening, and you memorized the opening, and then someone found a move that destroyed your opening, and you never learned the fundamental skills. You'd never be able to deal with that until you went back and learned the concepts, because you were just taught a process.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that concept. They used to talk about that at a place where I used to work. For a short time, I was in the web development business. It was a place called Gravity Free, and they talked a great deal about how a lot of our learning, the way we do learning, is different now. We do it through watching videos, which there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But when you learn at a higher rate of speed by observing somebody else doing it, it doesn't sink in quite as much. And it's like you said, so if they say later to that same person, okay, now you have to do it, they freeze up a little bit, like they don't have a knowledge of the,
or when it changes, all of a sudden the procedure changes just slightly. Now you have to do it, but we don't do it quite like that anymore. Now it's slightly altered. And if you understand, so often it's asking the question why instead of just how or what.
Sure, man. Great answer, buddy.
Thank you.
So I really want to say thank you to you for giving us your time, not only on this interview, but during the creation of this theme song, which was a genuine thrill for me. And, to work with somebody from the Perfect Fifth, which, the more I hear about this operation, it really sounds terrific. I'll include all the links and everything below. If you'd like to tell the viewers, where is the best place for us to find you?
Well, if you're trying to find me, let's see here. I actually have my list of links here. The best place is going to be www.justinklauser.com. That's just my domain name, JUSTINCLAUSER. And that'll have contact for me. You can find out a little bit about my teaching. And there you can listen to my music. I have some of my solo videos. I have music from That Girl's album, different things so you can hear my playing. You can also find me on social medias as well. I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have a Bandcamp that you can find if you want to support me, because that's one of the few places where musicians actually can make money off the recordings.
Right.
And then if you want to find me as a teacher, go to www.theperfectfifth.com. And that's where you can send an email to sign up for a free trial lesson with me or any of our staff. We're at close to 30, or it's 29 or 30, I forget sometimes, private instructors and group classes for any instrument that you might be interested in, visual arts and acting.
Excellent. Justin, thanks so much. And viewers, please check that out. Music and the creative efforts are more important than ever. This would be a perfect time for you to jump in and check it out. And in closing, I just want to say thanks to Justin for everything he's done for Earth Dog Studios. And thanks to the viewers for tuning in. This is an episode of The Creative Cranium, and you'll be able to hear the theme song on the outro. So thanks again, guys, and we'll hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.